Hey, it's Brock here with Rock Hill Farms, and I'm here with my new friend Waldo. He is a regular viewer of the channel, and I've drove up here to look at a few things that he has that I don't on my tractor, do a little comparison between some of these features, and then we've got a couple other projects we're going to do too. How long have you had your tractor?
Just shy of a month now.
And you had a bigger tractor before that, right?
Yeah, I had a 5065, and I did not need a tractor quite that big for 5 acres, and it was pretty destructive to the yard, so ended up downsizing to get a better fit for my needs.
People have a tendency to say like bigger is always better, and that's not necessarily the case. And he actually said from watching a lot of my videos and some of the other YouTube channels that realized that 2038 is pretty capable. So let's take a look at some of the differences between my tractor and yours.
Sure.
And the first thing, as I walked up, obviously it doesn't have the cab, so it's going to feel weird as I run this and test out some of these features to be on this tractor without a cab. But the first thing I noticed is that seems like a really versatile tire choice to me.
Radial R3s is what John Deere calls them.
So I can absolutely say I would love to have these tires instead of the ones I have. Look like a really versatile option. And they're actually a little bit taller too. With the radial tire, I think it's even a little stronger.
A little stronger, you can run a little lower air pressure, gets you a bigger contact patch, just kind of like the vehicle tires on your vehicle. So it'll give a smoother ride if they're aired down a little bit without it being an issue of bottoming out or causing rim damage, is my understanding.
And I just took a measurement on his tires, and they're at least 2 or 3 inches taller than mine. So that's another benefit. I'd love to switch to these, but I think you actually have to buy new rims to do it. He's got the single point hydraulic connector, and I think that's a great feature. I've never actually taken one of these off, but I took my loader off just the other day, and it really is kind of a hassle to get in there the way they're configured. So you just pull this right here, you push the red
button in.
Push that. You disconnected all 4 hydraulics.
But there you go. That's all there is to it.
Wow.
And you're done.
That quick connect there is pretty sweet.
And then this is the third function right here. So it is not integrated in with a single point, but it does make these 2 connections out in the open a little bit. I mean, they're still protected, but to get to them, to actually utilize them, it's a lot easier, because usually when you've got these in association with those, you've got 2 that are going to be in the middle of everything, and those are the hard ones to get to. So that separation actually makes it pretty nice.
Yeah, all the plumbing, this is from his dealership this way, all the plumbing is a lot nicer and cleaner than mine. Now, he was supposed to get the John Deere third function, but what he ended up with, just because of availability, is the WR long. So that'll be a different configuration I haven't tried before. I'm looking to see how those controls feel different compared to the diverter I have. So the big difference between the WR long and the John Deere version is with the John Deere version, you're going to get hard lines. And I actually paid $500 to have hard lines put on mine when I first got my tractor, and I was using the rear remotes as my third function. And I didn't like that setup at all, but I do have an extra set of hard lines, which is a lot nicer than having an extra set of soft hoses. So the next thing up here that he's got is a 4-in-1 bucket. So he's also got the Frontier AV20F, which is the grapple I started out with. So when you ordered the tractor with third function hydraulics and you got a grapple, what made you decide to go with the 4-in-1 bucket?
So I have 2 properties, the 5 acres we're on now, and then a 100-acre farm that's about an hour away. So my thought with the 4-in-1 bucket is going to and from to maintain the 2 properties, I could get away with taking fewer implements that are dedicated for a particular purpose and take kind of an all-in-one out there to get things done. You can always take the dedicated attachment, you know, if you've got a big tasking just for it, but to go back and do just routine maintenance out there, mowing, I can get away with 1 implement as opposed to loading up a whole trailer worth of stuff.
I really think that makes a lot of sense. That's what I've found. When you're going somewhere, you have all these ideas of this is how I would do it at my house, but to do it that way on this other property, I need to take 5 things with me, and I'm not going to do that.
Exactly.
Now the version I have of that is the add grapple on the standard bucket, and that works. The difference with this is there's added functionality in the bucket. I got to use one of these buckets really briefly, and I don't know if you've noticed that yet, but to me it seems like for back dragging and for any type of grading, having this open makes the back of the bucket more functional than using the lip of the bucket.
Right. And because you can carry dirt with you, because it's going to act as a sort of a light duty box blade, because once that's up, you've got a place to capture dirt and drag it and backfill holes.
Looks like you've got a good spot here that I can test that out in a minute.
Absolutely.
And then the last thing is when you're cleaning up an area and that last little bit of stuff is hard to get a hold of, and this seems like the best way to do it.
Clamshell down on it, and that last little bit you can do from the tractor seat.
So right here we've got the grill guard from 511 Designs. Now before I ever heard of them, I had someone fabricate one for me, and I would not run one of these tractors doing anything like what I do without a guard like that. It looks like this is just an easy bolt-on setup.
4 bolts is all it takes.
Yeah, and that looks like a great little add-on to me. I think unless you just happen to have those fabricating skills, then I'd probably recommend one of those.
Well, I learned from a school of hard knocks, and this kind of takes the bigger price tag out of fixing stuff when you learn it the hard way.
You remember approximately what that guard cost?
I want to say it was about $330 delivered, and it was, from the time I ordered it till the time it showed up, was less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, for $300 and the amount of time you're going to spend in design and fabrication, I think that's a pretty good deal.
It's a fair price.
The next thing we've got that really piqued my interest is the hydraulic thumb on his backhoe. Let's take a look at that. So you guys have probably seen I have the Be Expanded setup for my backhoe. It's got a quick attach, a trenching bucket, a ripper, and a manual thumb. And I'm really happy with all those products, but I really debated the manual thumb versus the hydraulic. I think the hydraulic it's going to cost you more to get it all set up. But it seems like it would be better, but until you use it, you don't know. And the only review I could find online was Tractor Time with Tim, which was a helpful video. But he kind of made it seem like it was a hassle using it with this lever up here. So what do you think about the functionality and how convenient it is to use this with the thumb?
Well, I'm getting to be older. I'm going to hit 50 this year. So getting down and up all the time just isn't real appealing to me. Nice thing about this, from the seat, you can stand up and reach the knob right here. You lift it up, that engages the thumb, and it is just diverting fluid from the bucket curl to then the bucket curl and thumb, so they'll meet in the middle somewhere. You use it for as long as you need to. If you need to reset it, all you do is open the bucket all the way, because it's just a diversion of the fluid. So if you open the bucket all the way, the bucket will go, and then the thumb will get all the way back up in the park position. If you're done with it, raise the boom back up, turn it off, and it's out of the way. You never have to leave the seat.
It sounds better to me, but I'm looking forward to actually using it. So I think that covers everything on the tractor itself. It's a great looking machine. Let's go look at all of his attachments, and then I'm going to jump on this thing and try to get some work done and see how these things actually perform.
All right.
So I'm actually over here trying to convince Waldo to start his own outdoors YouTube channel, because it feels like I'm getting a little bit of tractor envy. Like every time we go around this building, I see another attachment is just a little bit nicer than mine. So I've got the Frontier box blade, 66 inches, and I kind of thought that might be the widest you would want to run on the 2038, but you said this one pulls all right behind it?
Yep, this is 72 inch. It will pull a full load or full box up and down the hills we've got here on our roads, which are, a couple of them are kind of steep for roads, but never had an issue with traction. Doesn't seem to bog down. For our soil conditions, which is clay, sand, and just a few rocks, this works great.
You guys are probably mostly familiar with Everything Attachments. They make the wicked grapples, but they sell about anything you can put behind a tractor. And from everything I've seen, it's all heavy built, and that's no exception here. You can see it in the way this is made. Yeah, that's something that I didn't think of initially, but the fact the shanks are on behind seems like it would make it a little bit stronger. That's what he was just pointing out, that mine, there's holes in this tubing right here that the shanks go through. So it seems like it'd add some strength that way. This is the John Deere MX5. Now I have a Frontier rotary cutter. People actually give me a hard time because I went in and bought like everything and spent a ton on a tractor package. But, you know, this and the tiller we're about to look at are kind of the higher grade of what John Deere dealerships are going to offer you. That this is more heavy built in every way than the Frontier version. But as a counterpoint to it, I have a 6-foot wide Frontier brush hog because it's not as heavy. And I've actually been in a few discussions with people online about if it's okay to put an MX6 behind the 2038. And
Too heavy.
It's too heavy, basically. That's what John Deere will tell you, right? Is that it's too heavy.
It's going to be the tail wagging the dog.
And I've got a couple of attachments that are heavier that I run on mine that are heavier than that MX6 is. But the difference is how far back the weight is and what you're doing with it. So my stump grinder hangs off 6 foot and weighs 940 pounds. And my flail mower weighs 1,000 pounds, but it's tucked up tight. And I'm not driving up and down hills with the stump grinder. So it's one of those things you could probably run it, but you probably shouldn't. So you end up, if you're buying this tractor, you've got a choice between a 6-foot Frontier brush hog and a 5-foot heavier built John Deere. As far as this being heavier built, I'll get a close-up shot. The biggest thing that I wish I had on mine is this heavy-duty skirt, because the problem I've had with mine is not that something is broken on it or it can't cut the material. The problem has been that you're supposed to be able to cut, well, it's rated for 1.5 inches, I think, but I like to cut stuff that's bigger than it's rated for, and you can't back over it to cut it. The shape of this lets water and everything else run off, whereas mine, the top of it is flat, and it's kind of separated by some of the iron that's welded onto it, and it's got spots that's going to hold rain and stuff. So it's a nice design. I'm kind of jealous of the brush cutter. Then I've got a mid-mount mower. Mine is the 60-inch. This is 72. And I'd rather have the 72. In my mind, when I was buying it, I was thinking it wouldn't fit on my trailer, but I don't take it somewhere else to mow. I'm only mowing at my own house. So I could have easily got the 72. And I ordered the 60-inch deck with the load and go brackets. And when the tractor came in, they said, oh, by the way, we found out load and go is not compatible with the 60-inch. You can, on the 1025, you can get it with the 60-inch, but something about clearance and interference means that the 60-inch doesn't work with load and go on the 2038, but it does on the 72. So I'd really like to have the load and go. And then what was the model number on your tiller?
RT 3062.
So I have the same width tiller, and the difference between my tiller and this tiller is that this one is gear driven, so it's also a little heavier built. So I really like my tractor, but I'm getting a little bit jealous here. Why don't we fire it up and drive it?
Absolutely.
Okay, that did work. Not the way I thought it would immediately, but when I see what it's doing, that works.
Kind of just auto adjust it.
I sat down thinking I needed to overthink it. I don't. It's just intuitive. I just grabbed them without giving it much thought, and it worked good. So I'm gonna push this back a little bit and see if I can get some of those off the top with the 4-in-1. That was pretty handy with that thumb and the 4-in-1 bucket to move these logs around. For this exact job, if you moved logs around all the time, it worked great. And it feels more convenient with this and with the size of logs he's got here to actually hold them up with the grapple to slice your rounds off for firewood. With mine, I never do that, but I could see doing it with that. All right, so as you guys are gonna see over the next couple days, or you may even see one of those first, I drove up here, it's about 3 hours, I drove up here to play some other games, and as soon as I walked up, I made one loop around his tractor, and I said, we're making a video about your tractor, because there's a list of things on this tractor that, now having had mine for a while, I would do it this way. And all of those things, mostly I hadn't ever seen in person or used it, and now I have, and I'm gonna say all of them I think are an improvement. I think the 4-in-1 bucket is fantastic. It's more versatile for spreading and back dragging, and it gives you the ability to pick things up and carry them without changing front end attachments. I also think the thumb's better. I think the hydraulic quick connect is better, and I knew that at the time, but just didn't add that little bit of cost. And really, another one that really strikes me is the tires, because I've had the tire conversation before, and only thinking of it are these treads better?
Right.
You know, is snow passing through it? Are you less likely to get stuck? That's the only aspect I've looked at with it. But the fact that this is a bigger outside diameter, it's a bigger wheel, and it's a bigger outside diameter on the tire, I honestly felt like I could feel a little bit of difference. There's two factors there. One is I've got the cab, which puts some weight up high.
Sure.
And then these bigger tires, something about it, I felt like it was almost a little bit more stable, and bigger tires help you pull more. So, and the other one, the WR long, for a long time I didn't understand that the WR long is not a diverter. I've got I've installed 2 different brands of diverters. They work well. I've been happy with them. But this is better because it moves when you push the button, and you can do 2 functions at once.
Absolutely.
You have anything great you'd like to say about your own tractor, or?
You know, piecing together my entire equipment package took a lot of time to figure out exactly what I needed, what I wanted, things that I could hold off on. A lot of decisions to make. But there's a lot of things I didn't want to compromise on. So I tried to get what I thought would be, in the long run, the best overall, because if you start replacing things, you've already got the cost of the initial purchase. You'll never regain all of that when you sell it and replace it with something that's more expensive. So I tried to just do it all at once and be happy with what I've got. And I'm tickled to death with what I've got. I'm very fortunate. So.
And most of us are financing these tractors and taking advantage of the Deere 0%. And if you're doing that, making a $500 change here or there doesn't make as dramatic a difference as trying to add it later. And then, like, if you add third function later, it's going to be hard for you to do it as well as the dealership does it, as far as maybe fabricating a bracket to hold it and all that sort of thing.
And on the initial package, there's no dealer labor fees for installations of the items that you're getting for accessories, or so big cost savings there if you don't have the ability to install things on your own.
Before I bought my tractor, I watched every video I could find on tractors in this size range. Watched a lot of Tractor Time with Tim and Elk Creek Acres, and just anybody I could find that was giving information on these kind of tractors and features you would want. And I went in with what I felt was a comprehensive list of everything I wanted added to the tractor, and I recommend taking the time to do that. You should probably watch all 780 of my videos. You'll learn a lot of what not to do from those. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Appreciate you taking time to watch. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos. I'll see you next time. Hey, and I appreciate you.
Absolutely. No, I enjoyed it immensely.